A pair of new polls show that former UN ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has eclipsed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for second place in the 2024 Republican primary. The first poll from Suffolk University, USA Today, and the Boston Globe, 49% of likely primary voters in New Hampshire say that Donald Trump is their choice to lead the ticket. But for the first time, second place is not held by DeSantis, but rather Haley. She's at 19%. The Florida governor sits in third with 10% of the vote. All of the other candidates, including Chris Christie, who has put everything on New Hampshire, are just in single digits. Meanwhile, in a Winthrop College poll of South Carolina Republicans, Haley earned 17% of the vote there. Now, to be clear, that is still well behind Trump, who's at 51%. But she's now 5 points ahead of DeSantis, who's at 12. Haley previously served, as mentioned, as the governor of that state. One of the state's current senators, Tim Scott, is at 6%, a very low number, but good enough for fourth place. DeSantis is heading to Iowa while facing a critical cash crunch. Yesterday, his campaign announced $15 million in third quarter fundraising and plans to move roughly a third of its staff to Iowa, part of a plan to focus on the first in the country GOP caucus. He's all in the Hawkeye state. While campaign aides for the Florida governor are selling this as part of a comeback, DeSantis actually can only use $5 million of that total in the primary push, an amount that many political experts say just isn't enough. And moving staff to Iowa instead of hiring locally, something that was typically done in past presidential campaigns as a last-ditch cost-saving effort, the experts believe. DeSantis promised to visit all 99 counties in Iowa before the 2024 GOP caucuses, which are set for January 15th. He trails Trump in Iowa by more than 30 points in a number of polls released just last month. Joining us now, national political reporter for Politico, our friend Natalie Allison. Natalie, give us your assessment right now of the state of DeSantis. We just ran through some pretty underwhelming polling numbers, mediocre debate performance, and now these reports of money and staffing problems. Is there any sense from inside the DeSantis campaign, besides the spin, that they can turn this around?
Well, this is certainly not the position that DeSantis or his team ever wanted to be in at this stage of the race. It's a candidate who for months was the only one who was able to tout that he was anything close to striking distance to Trump. He was the only one, he said, polling in the double digits for many months when he had a field behind him of candidates who were all lagging in the low single digits. And now that's just no longer the case. These polls are coming after a summer where he has campaigned relentlessly. And I will add, he was doing that in Iowa. To his campaign's point, they are just going all in on Iowa right now. And certainly that gives them potentially a leg up when it comes caucus time in January, when potentially they are able to mobilize way more Iowans out to the caucus sites on that cold day. But it also runs the risk of letting someone like Nikki Haley gain a lot of ground in a place like New Hampshire or in her home state of South Carolina that, regardless of his performance in Iowa, he may not be able to make up.
So is there a sense among the never-Trump Republicans that they should coalesce around Haley right now?
Well, Haley is the latest donor darling. They've cycled through. It was, at one point it was DeSantis. And then, of course, they were looking at Tim Scott as the latest shiny object. And then now it's really Nikki Haley. And we'll see how long this lasts, right? We'll see if she continues to eclipse DeSantis in polling. Is this a blip? Is this a moment in time? Or is Nikki Haley going to consistently surpass her as the candidate who's running closest to Trump? And so far, those donors have held back. They didn't give to DeSantis. They didn't give to Tim Scott. And we'll see after the latest third quarter fundraising reports whether, sometime in September they started writing checks for Nikki Haley. But so far, a lot of these big dollar donors on the Republican side are just sitting on the sidelines.
And Haley got a lift from those two debates, but she's still well behind Trump. And speaking of debates, you have a new piece out this morning that I've been waiting for someone to write. You crushed it, about how some RNC officials are wondering whether they should even still have these debates going forward, considering the state of the polls and the fact that Trump continues to skip them and is showing no inclination to ever show up. Tell us more about what you're hearing. Are these debates going to continue?
Well, as of now, the RNC has a third debate scheduled for Miami early next month, but it's really unclear after that. They say that, yes, they're going to continue these debates as long as there are a field of candidates who are meeting their criteria to get on the stage, candidates who are raising money, who are out there campaigning. They say that they're going to have them, but they're in a really tricky position. They scheduled these debates, and the frontrunner said he wasn't going to bother to show up, and that's led to declining viewership. Republican voters and independent voters and the people that ideally should be watching these just really aren't tuning in like they were in 2015 at this same point in time. It's leading to frustration among some of the RNC members even, saying, why are we even bothering doing this if we can't get the front runner on stage? What is the point in doing these debates? We have a field of people on the stage who in many cases are polling in the low single digits nationally. What are we doing here? And so I think it's going to take some reflection on the part of the RNC to figure out, is there a way we can get people more engaged? Is there a way we can get Trump on that stage? But right now, they've really abandoned their efforts to try to get Trump to show up. They tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah, an important story. I think this is going to be a major topic of conversation in the weeks ahead. National political reporter for Politico, Natalie Allison. Thank you for joining us this morning.